Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new optic from US Optics. This is the TS-8X, a 1:8 variable power scope with a first focal plane illuminated reticle. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started by first talking about some of the tech specs, details, and features, and then I'll give you guys my own personal thoughts and opinions on the optic. But basically what you're looking at here is a 1:8 power scope. If you don't know, 1 power simply means that there's no magnification. So at its lowest setting, it doesn't have any magnification at all. And there are some companies out there that have had a hard time accomplishing that, where they'll say that they have a true 1:8 power scope or a 1:6, 1:4, whatever it is. But at the lowest setting at 1, sometimes you'll get like a 1.1 or even a 1.2 magnification, meaning that when you have it set up on one eye on a one-time magnification and you're looking out of your other eye, which obviously has no magnification, while they should look the same, some companies have optics like this that have just a little bit of magnification behind them, and it can kind of throw you off a little bit. This one right here has a true 1x. When I have it down on its lowest power, it's pretty much the same as looking through a red dot with just a different reticle and different options. Now this does have a zoom all the way up to 8 times magnification. So if you want to make those shots, let's say, 4, 5, 600 yards with the 8 times magnification and a first focal plane reticle, it's definitely easy to do so. You just go ahead and dial this in, you still get a pretty good field of view, and you can make your shots. And then if you want to get back to where, like home defense distances, self-defense distances, or even competition 3-gun distances, then you can go ahead and dial this back to 6, 5, 4, 3, or 2, or whatever you want it at, whatever fits your needs. The nice thing about first focal plane, which is again what this is right here with the new RBR reticle, is that at first focal plane, the reticle actually enlarges in the optic itself. One of the nice things about that is if you're going to be using the bullet drop compensation, which this one is a mil radiant bullet drop compensator with windage and elevation, if you're going to be using that, it's set up at any magnification level. So at the lowest level and at the highest level, you're going to be able to use the same windage holdovers. For something that is second focal plane, you usually have to be dialed into a specific magnification range in order to use the correct holdovers for whatever caliber you're using. So that's what's nice about first focal plane. Another nice thing is when you dial this out to 1x, the reticle gets very small. When you illuminate it, it's very similar to a red dot, so you do get that red illumination. Now this does have 11 different illumination settings, the brightest obviously being 11, and it is daytime visible. It's not super daytime visible, but it is daytime visible where it does put like a red hue on whatever target you're aiming at. It does surprisingly have three night vision settings, which is something that you don't see a lot in an optic like this. Typically a 1:4, 1:6, and 1:8, it's going to have those daytime bright settings and maybe a low power setting. But night vision, I think this is one of the first, at least that I've used, that's had that. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up with the tech specs and features here. Now, this scope has a 30mm body. That means you're going to have to get those 30mm rings. It has a 24mm objective lens and a 33mm ocular lens. The turrets are covered. Some people like that, some people don't. I personally like these turrets because they're low profile. So if you're going to be using this in either competition or tactical purposes, it's going to allow you a little bit more peripheral view around your scope itself. So having those low profile turrets to me is definitely a plus. Having massive knobs on something like this would just seem a little bit ridiculous. So we take off the turret covers. You can see it's very nice, very low profile. The clicks are audible and tactile. We have about 100 MOA of total travel, both windage and elevation. So that's a little bit more than 50 up, 50 down, 50 left, 50 right, and so forth. This does have fixed parallax at 100 yards. So that's something to make sure that you understand as well. Having your eye directly behind the scope and in the proper position is definitely going to be a plus, especially when running something like this. So keep in mind that it's a fixed parallax of 100 yards. This scope is about 10.5 inches long. I believe it weighs around 17.9 ounces. Again, it does have an illuminated reticle. It's first focal plane. I gotta be honest, it's really nice. Type 3 hard anodized coated. It's got all the nice coatings on it, which is kind of impressive to me because for this particular price range, where this thing comes in, it's got a lot of the features that you would find in a scope that costs $1,500, $1,800, but this thing comes in at around 750 bucks. So you actually get a lot for your money in this scope right here. So it's definitely very nice. Okay, now let me give you my own personal thoughts and opinions on this scope, because I have had a lot of experience with the 1-4s, 1-6s, and 1-8s over the years, and there are certain things that I look for right away. The first thing that I look for is edge-to-edge clarity. So edge-to-edge clarity means that if I look in the center of this scope and everything looks nice and crisp and clear and there's no distortion or anything like that, I want it to look like that all the way across the scope. I don't want it to get close to the edge and all of a sudden you see a little bit of a distortion or a blue ring or some type of hue, something that makes the image not look correct. I want it to be basically an entire eye box of perfect clarity, and you definitely get that with this scope. Again, it's the first thing that I look for. I want optical clarity across the entire spectrum. So it was very nice, it's very crisp, it's very clear, it allows a lot of light through, so when you have it at the 8 times power and you're shooting at something a little bit far away, it doesn't get dulled down or gray like some scopes would get once you kind of dial things in. It tends to take a lot of the color or the light out of the target, and this doesn't seem to do that. When I'm out shooting, I can acquire my target nice and easy. It's got a good field of view, and I like the good color and the light transparency. So I found that to be really, really nice. Now, another thing I found nice was that the adjustments were perfect when it comes to the turrets. So sometimes you get a scope, and you'll be making your adjustments, whether it's MOA or whatever you've chosen, and the adjustments aren't correct. And if you move your adjustments and try to make a box out of your shots or kind of follow things around to make sure that, you know, 1 MOA is 1 MOA or 4 MOA is 4 MOA, you'll notice that your movements aren't correct. And the shots should be landing at 4 MOA if you make 4 MOA of travel adjustments. This one right here is dead on. It's dead on when it comes to making your adjustments, so I was really happy with that. I prefer these scopes right here for the lower powers. I use the 8 times when I go to the range or if I just want to shoot out for fun at distance, but I really like the fact that I can go from a no power magnified optic all the way up to shooting like that, but typically I kind of keep them at their low power because it works very similar to a red dot. Now, being first focal plane, one of the things I like about this is the type of reticle that they have, the RBR reticle. This thing's got a lot of really good information in it. One thing that I like is that it has kind of a modified horseshoe on top, and then you have drops for windage and elevation. So we have a little bit of left, right, hash marks, up, down, hash marks, and so you can get your holdovers perfect. You can get your windage and elevation holdovers, but at the same time, when you dial it down, being first focal plane, that reticle gets so small that it kind of turns into a standard red dot, almost like a typical horseshoe red dot that you would see out of a holographic sight or something like that. When you put on the red illumination on it and you have it dialed down to 1 or even 2, that's kind of what it's like. And so it's really the best of both worlds when you're using something like this. So it saves you from, let's say, spending $400 or $500 on a holographic sight and then having to spend another $300 to $500 on a magnifier, and having these 2 different optics on your rifle. This thing right here gets everything done all at once, and I was really happy with it overall. And so I put it on my 300 blackout because so far with my 300 blackout I typically run red dots and holographic sights, reflex sights, stuff like that. And I haven't really put too many variable power optics on here, but with this thing on here, I really feel like it increased the capability of the rifle. 300 blackout is something where I'm not going to be going too far with it, but at the same time, I want the ability to do so. So I'm really happy with it overall. Got kind of banged up a little bit. I kind of, tossed around in the desert and, fell a couple times off the back of the truck, that type of thing, and it's held up really well. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even have any scratches. Type 3 hard anodized coating seems to be holding up fine. I will let you know that one thing is that I broke the scope cap covers. The first one I broke with my hat. My fault. I was kind of holding it, and as the recoil came back, it just kind of popped that cap off. And then the second one, when I was putting it into my range bag, I broke the cap off the front. So I broke both caps. One of the only things that I would be a little bit critical about this scope is when you're dialed up to 8 power, it seems like it's less than the 3.7 inches of eye relief that they claim it has. 3.75 inches of eye relief I can see anywhere from, let's say, like 1 to 4. But once you get above 4 power, I feel like I kind of bring it into that 3 or even a little bit closer than 3 inches of eye relief, which is fine for me. I can find my cheek weld perfect, but that's just how it felt. I never actually measured it, but it felt like I was sitting a little bit close. Nonetheless, it's a great value. US Optics, they can get up there in price, and so to find something that's this good for this price range, definitely worth checking out. I'll put more information in the comments section if you guys are interested. I want to thank US Optics very much for sending this scope out to the channel for review, and Thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button, subscribe, hit that little bell notification if you want to see more videos like this, and you guys have a great day.